and welcome to Battle for the White House. This is your show where we bring you the latest news in the build-up to the most powerful election in the world. My name is Peter Stemmert. It's good of you to be with us, and here's a sneak peek at what's coming up in today's episode. Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigns in disgrace after anti-Bernie Sanders email rocks the Democrats. Hillary Clinton makes history as she becomes the first female nominee of a major US political party. And Donald Trump hits back at Clinton amidst the email controversy. Hello again and welcome. Delegates at the Democratic Convention welcomed the decision by Debbie Wasserman Schultz to step down as head of the Democratic National Committee. Schultz was privy to leaked emails which show her criticizing Bernie Sanders and his Jewish faith.
Embattled Democratic Party chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigned following a leak of emails suggesting an insider attempt to hobble the campaign of Hillary Clinton's rival in the White House primaries, Bernie Sanders. Her departure is aimed at drawing a line under the scandal as establishment Democrats seek desperately to unite the party behind the campaign of former Secretary of State Clinton, who goes up against Republican Donald Trump in the November presidential.
The DNC is reviewing all of the information. It's important to recognize when hackers dump something, sometimes the information is doctored and so on. So there's a process in place to review this information, and they will take appropriate action.
A cache of leaked emails from Democratic Party leaders' accounts includes at least 2 messages suggesting an insider effort to hobble Bernie Sanders' upstart campaign, a revelation that threatens an uneasy truce within the party.
The emails, some of the ones that we've seen, are unacceptable, and we make no defense of them. And we do not at all condone the use of religion for the purposes of weaponizing it against any political candidate. So that was exposed over the weekend in one of the emails is completely unacceptable, and we condemn it.
On the opening day of the Democratic National Convention, Hillary Clinton's campaign officials say Democrats will still unify to elect Hillary Clinton and defeat Donald Trump.
Our party is coming together here to unify, to elect Hillary Clinton and defeat Donald Trump. And that's what you're going to see today.
Delegates welcomed the decision by Debbie Wasserman Schultz to step down as head of the Democratic National Committee.
We'll start out, she's done a lot of work and everything. We have to give her credit for that. But I think at certain points, maybe we need to just, kind of hold off and maybe bring somebody in new.
Despite many thinking the party is divided, officials say the party is still united.
Hillary Clinton has told Democratic delegates that they put the biggest crack yet in the glass ceiling for women. Clinton has become the first female White House nominee for a major political party.
Hillary Clinton became the first woman in history to win the White House nomination of a major U.S. political party, officially securing the backing of a majority of Democrats at a convention in Philadelphia. Clinton was put over the threshold number of 2,382 votes.
We proudly cast our 25 votes, 10 for the Senator Bernie Sanders, who inspired us all, and 15 for the 45th President of the United States, and the first one who will be called Madam President, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Democratic power players Michelle Obama and her husband, Bill Clinton, and Bernie Sanders offered contrasting heartfelt and hard-headed endorsements for Clinton, imploring a rival and feisty party convention to unite against Donald Trump.
I think about the kind of president that I want for my girls and all our children. That's what I want. I want someone with the proven strength to persevere. Someone who knows this job and takes it seriously. Someone who understands that the issues a president faces are not black and white and cannot be boiled down to 140 characters. Look, because, and I am here tonight because I know that that is the kind of president that Hillary Clinton will be. And that's why in this election, I'm with her.
I stand before you again tonight, after almost 2 terms as your president, to tell you I am more optimistic about the future of America than ever before.
She walked the whole length of the library, came up to me and said, "Look, if you're going to keep staring at me," and now I'm staring back, "we at least ought to know each other's name. I'm Hillary Rodham. Who are you?" I was so impressed and surprised that, whether you believe it or not, momentarily I was speechless. Finally, I sort of blurted out my name, and we exchanged a few words, and then she went away. Well, I didn't join the law review, but I did leave that library with a whole new goal in mind.
And we have got to elect Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine. Trump is a bully and a demagogue.
Clinton says the Democratic delegates have put the biggest crack yet in the glass ceiling for women as she becomes the first female White House nominee for a major political party.
I loved that my parents expected me to have opinions and to be able to back them up with facts. I never once doubted that my parents cared about my thoughts and my ideas. And I always knew how deeply they loved me. That feeling of being valued and loved, that's what my mom wants for every child. It is the calling of her life.
I am so happy. It's been a great day and night. What an incredible honor that you have given me. And I can't believe we just put the biggest crack in that glass ceiling yet. Thanks to you and to everyone who's fought so hard to make this possible. This is really your victory. This is really your night. And if there are any little girls out there who stayed up late to watch, let me just say, I may become the first woman president, but one of you is next.
After a tumultuous convention opening, which saw Sanders and Clinton supporters trade jeers and chants, cheers erupted as Clinton passed the delegate threshold, setting up a showdown with Republican Donald Trump in November. The Clinton camp is now looking to unite the party's factions.
This is democracy, and democracy is sometimes messy and sometimes it is loud. That's fine. What you're going to hear from Hillary Clinton this week is the urgency of uniting. Because if we don't unite, we may end up with Donald Trump as President of the United States. And that is not something that anybody in this convention hall can subscribe to.
I think I trust her. She's so highly qualified, and I like him. He's a good, positive, hopeful candidate. Not angry. And he likes to sit down and work things out.
The Clinton camp is now looking to unite the party's factions.
Let's take a look now at this week's poll tracker, and we're looking at the delegate numbers for the two Democratic Party presidential candidates. Hillary Clinton, 2382. Big win in the end for her. You can see Bernie ending up with 1865. So it really was a foregone conclusion. Everyone already knew what was going to happen coming to Philadelphia. Now, Tim Kaine introduced himself to the American people, accepting his place on the Democratic ticket and firing his first primetime shots at its rival, Donald Trump. Let's take a listen.
Tim Kaine accepted his nomination to be Hillary Clinton's running mate.
For all of us who know that the brightest future for our country is the one that we build together, and for my friend Hillary Clinton, I humbly accept my party's nomination to be Vice President of the United States.
Clinton beamed as she sat behind Kaine during his rousing and well-delivered speech after introducing the political veteran as the antithesis of the Republican ticket of Trump and Mike Pence.
When someone says, "I alone can fix it," that should set off alarm bells in not just Democrats' minds, but Republicans, independents, people of all ages and backgrounds. That is not a democracy.
Kaine, a 58-year-old senator from the background state of Virginia, won many a cheer and laugh and frequent applause as he addressed a campaign rally after being tapped for the Democratic ticket.
We'll rewrite the rules so that companies share their profits with workers rather than ship jobs overseas. And we'll make sure that Wall Street corporations and the wealthy pay their fair share of taxes.
Kaine came across as an agile, knowledgeable, and self-deprecating speaker. Kaine slammed recent comments by Trump to the effect that if Russia were to attack the Baltics, he as president would come to the nation's aid only after assessing whether they have fulfilled their obligations to us.
A few weeks ago, Wits lecturer Tinashe Chuchu was a guest on Battle for the White House, and I asked him to give me his prediction on who he thought might be Hillary Clinton's vice presidential pick. Take a listen.
So personally, I would actually think Tim Kaine, the senator from Virginia, would be the best option.
And for making predictions like that one, how could we not invite him back? Thank you so much, Tinashe. Good of you to join us again.
Thanks for having me back, Peter.
So what does Tim Kaine add to Hillary Clinton's ticket?
Okay. Tim Kaine, I think it's now so clear that he adds the Latina vote. He's fluent in Spanish. And speaking about the Latina vote, I have a few stats that I would like to share with you. Okay, so you see the 4 states we spoke about the last time, Colorado, New Mexico, Florida, and Virginia. You find that 3 of those 4 key states have a large Latina vote. And in the last election in 2012, at least 11.2 million Latinas voted. And each year you find that 500 to 600,000 Latinas are now eligible for voting. So we're looking at, let's say, give or take 11.8 million Latina voters that could vote this time around, and probably based on what we have seen Donald Trump saying about the Latinas, they are so inspired to vote, and we'll see who they'll vote for. But I can just say this. Susana Martinez, who's the governor of New Mexico, couldn't even go to a Trump rally, and it was publicized so much. So you'll find that Latinas could be the demographic group that we're talking about this election, considering that they are 17% of the total population. So I think we should watch the Latina vote.
And of course he hails from Virginia, which is one of those battleground states,
Yeah.
much like Ohio, very key. Florida is another one, and of course the ones that you mentioned earlier. Just explain to our viewers who might be watching a US election for the first time, what makes those battleground states what they are and so important.
Okay, what happens is that US elections are one in the middle. So you find that these 4 key states we spoke about have a lot of independent voters. So these independent voters can switch in the last minute. So we know that at least 40% of the population is about Democrat, 40% is about Republican, but the population that's in between, no one knows where they're going to go to. So that becomes the swing vote. So we definitely have to look at the Latina vote. It could swing either way.
And that 20% ultimately will decide who will be the next president.
Yes.
Speaking of the next president, could be a woman for the first time
Yes.
ever. How significant is that as far as Hillary's credentials are concerned?
I think that's pretty significant because after almost 300 years, this is the first time a woman has a real chance of becoming the US president, because you find that, in my knowledge, I can't even think of any presidential candidate, be it a man or a woman, who was a senator and secretary of state. So she's uniquely positioned, and she was also first lady. So if she can be the first female president, I don't know who can be the first female president.
Speaking of females, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is a female that's probably headed in the other direction at the moment after that email scandal. Where does that leave the Democrats, considering that they're supposed to be the Liberal Party, inclusive of everybody, and then attacking Bernie Sanders and his Jewish faith? That's not really good for the image, is it?
And also Debbie Wasserman Schultz is also Jewish.
Correct, yes.
I think that this doesn't leave the party in a bad state to say, because Donna Brazil is going to be replacing her as the DNC chair, and she's a black African-American female. So I think it's going to be good image-wise, but in terms of unity, I think removing Debbie Wasserman Schultz will really help unite the party, because delegates from Bernie Sanders were pretty upset throughout the process because she thought she was in Clinton's tent, and by removing her, I think it will make Bernie Sanders supporters warm up to Hillary, because some of them were even talking about going to Trump. Yes.
Tinashe, stay right there. I've got some more questions for you in just a minute. But speaking of Hillary Clinton, at the age of 68 now, she stands at the threshold of the White House, making history as the first woman to carry the colors of a major U.S. political party in the presidential race. Here's a look at her journey.
Hillary Clinton is making history. 8 years after losing her party's nomination to Barack Obama, she now stands at the threshold of the presidency. Clinton's campaign has highlighted issues concerning women and minorities. Rival Donald Trump accuses her of playing the woman card.
Well, I'll tell you what, if talking about paid family leave, equal pay, women's rights to make our health care decisions is playing the woman's card, then deal me in!
Raised in a middle-class household in a Chicago suburb, Hillary Rodham attended Yale Law School, where she met Bill Clinton. During Bill's race for the White House, she made it clear she would play a more active role than previous First Ladies. From her office in the West Wing, she made an unsuccessful attempt to reform the healthcare system. Hillary launched her own political career in 2000, winning a Senate seat from New York. Her most high-profile job was as Obama's Secretary of State. Her critics argue that she can claim no major diplomatic successes here. Republicans accuse her of incompetence over a 2012 militant attack on the U.S. mission in Benghazi that left the U.S. ambassador dead. Along with a scandal over use of a private email server while at state, allegations of corruption and negligence have taken their toll on her popularity. Critics claim she and her husband see themselves as above the law.
The Clintons have established an apparatus which allows foreign entities to give large sums of money to them. Some of it flows through the Clinton Foundation, through their charitable organization. Some of it ends up directly in their pocket.
On the primary campaign trail, her Democratic rival Bernie Sanders tapped into Clinton's rising unpopularity. His supporters must now decide whether or not to get behind a candidate they rejected.
I'm planning to write his name in the ballot. In no way I am going to vote for Hillary Clinton because she represents oligarchy.
But both Bernie and Barack Obama's endorsement of Clinton may help persuade them to unite.
Hillary Clinton's campaign lashed out at Donald Trump for encouraging Russia to troll the former Secretary of State's emails, describing his comments as a national security issue. Trump suggested that Russia could help find emails known to have been deleted from Clinton's private server when she was Secretary of State on the grounds they were personal. The FBI concluded earlier this month that Clinton had been extremely careless in her handling of classified material via a private email server, but did not recommend that she face criminal charges. Trump's vice presidential running mate, Mike Pence, quickly tried to limit the fallout from the mogul's comments.
And it is extraordinary to think that yesterday in Philadelphia, 61 speakers came to the podium and not one of them named ISIS by name. This man will name our enemies without apology, and he will defeat them.
Crooked Hillary Clinton. And believe me, folks, she is crooked. Has a much different view. She recently said of the VA scandal that it's not as widespread as it's been purported to be. It's like she's trying to sweep it under the rug. Our visa programs will be reformed to ensure that veterans are put in the front of the line for jobs.
I still have Wits lecturer Tinashe Chuchu with me here in studio. Tinashe, let's move on to the Republican side now as well. Yes. How much of what we saw there from Trump and Pence is a case of just simply trying to steal the thunder of what is supposed to be the Democrats' week?
I think Trump's Russia comment was definitely a way of being in the headlines. You find that no one is a big fan of what he said, because I don't think in America's history ever has a candidate of a major party say that an enemy should have access to emails that the other party has. This makes what happened during the Nixon era like nothing, because you find that this was internal. When the Watergate scandal happened, it was internal, but now you are saying a foreign state should have access to your secrets. I think it's very ridiculous.
Reagan has tried throughout this campaign, as have the Republicans as a whole, to style themselves and him in this case as the presidential nominee on Ronald Reagan. But there are some serious differences between what Reagan stood for and what Reagan was compared to Donald Trump. Would you like to elaborate on some of those differences?
Yes, I think this is no longer Reagan's party. It's definitely Trump's party, because everything that Reagan stood for, Trump is completely going the opposite way. And you find that in the 1980s, I think every Republican wants to identify with Reagan, because besides the fact that he was critical in the removal of the Berlin Wall, he also stood for a lot of values that Republicans hold dear to. And right now, I can give you an example. For instance, you find Trump can say one thing in this interview, in the next interview he says another thing. So it's difficult to know where he actually stands. And I think sometimes it depends with public opinion. That's what I think.
And since you were so excellent last time in making predictions, I can't let you go without asking you to make another one. Hillary Clinton, we know it's her and Kaine now. Donald Trump, we know it's him and Pence. What's going to happen in the next 4 to 6 weeks?
I think in the next 4 to 6 weeks, these polls are not going to be so close as, for instance, Ohio. I don't think Ohio is going to be close, but my prediction is Trump might win Ohio, but becomes the first nominee to win Ohio and to lose the election. But what I also think is between Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Florida, the person who wins 2 of the 3 is the next president.
Sounds good.
That's what I think.
Tinashe Chuchu, we're going to have you back here again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Really appreciate it. Debbie Wasserman Schultz stepped down as the chairperson of the Democratic National Committee this week. Her departure came on the back of an email scandal where she is said to have actively plotted the downfall of her own party's presidential candidate, Bernie Sanders, and attacked his faith. And that is the subject of this week's fun look at the battle for the White House.
During presidential primaries, the chairs of the respective political party national committees are expected to remain neutral. Well, except if you're Debbie Wasserman Schultz. The 49-year-old was forced to quit after a leak of internal emails showed officials actively favoring Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders. Evidence in the emails showed Sanders being plotted against. His Jewish faith, or lack thereof, could be used as a way to dissuade voters in the Bible Belt states, they said. Ironically, Schultz herself is Jewish, but this calls into question the Democratic Party's reputation as an all-inclusive liberal home for all colors and religions. Who would have thought the Republicans would be this election season party of diversity? After all, this is the party of the anti-immigration Donald Trump. Look, Mom, 2 Latinos. And a woman. Oh, there's a black man. And a fat man. And a thin one, too. Ooh, there's an orange-looking fella. Shame on you, Democrats.
And now it's time for us to take a look at the weekly poll numbers coming out of the USA. And we'll start in Nevada, where it's Donald Trump who's just ahead, 43-38 at the moment. Let's move on to our next state, and that would be Ohio. Key battleground state. No Republican has ever won the White House without taking Ohio. 45-45 at the moment. Now, if we move on, we can see in Michigan, Clinton with a 40-34 lead. That's good for her, although you can see by those numbers that there are still quite a large number of undecided voters voters, and that might well be where this election is won and lost. 46-44, Donald Trump is in the lead in Georgia, one of those key southern states. And if we move on to Vermont, this is Bernie Sanders' home state. 39-17, quite a big lead for Hillary, also quite a lot of undecided people there. But of course, if you add in those numbers and factor in that it is Sanders' home state, you would expect it to go the way of the Democrats, as you would New Hampshire, although Hillary is only leading 39-37 at the moment. And let's wrap it up with a quick look at the poll numbers, the overall numbers now. And if it was a straight shootout popular vote, right now as it stands, can you believe it? Donald Trump, 48-45 in the lead. Could he be the next president of the United States of America? Thank you so much for joining us this week here on Battle for the White House. You can follow me on Twitter at pstemmet_ANN7. You can also follow the channel at ANN7TV. And we look forward again to your company next week when we bring you the latest in the battle for the White House.